Okay, with that, we've actually come to the last speech of the product track for the day. And I hope the speeches have been interesting to you. And I hope none of you all are falling asleep because we are after lunch. But you don't have a lot of time to wait. Right after this, we are going to break for tea. So now I would like to invite Anton Padmasiri for one last product speech for the day. Welcome, Anton.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Guys, my name is Anton Padmasiri. I'm the founder CEO of WealthOS, and I'm going to talk about strategies for product development, how we use AI within a lean and agile product development framework. Really exciting kind of topic for me to talk about. But let me give a very quick intro to myself. Originally from Sri Lanka, I'm the founder and CEO of WealthOS, but before founding WealthOS, I've been in the UK wealth management industry for about 17, 18 years, working for brands like Edward Jones, Fidelity, Tilney, and Smart Pension. The founding for WealthOS was rooted around some of the problems that I saw in the infrastructure technology market in wealth management. Much like core banking, a lot of the technologies was on-prem, API-less. I'm a product guy, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, and that's why I'm speaking in this track. Although I'm the CEO of the company, I come from a product management background. All my life, I've kind of managed product one way or another, product roadmaps, and that's what makes me tick. Can I just show of hands, how many kind of product owners, business analysts are here in this room? Okay, quite a smattering, and others from engineering, from QA, design, UX. Okay, so yeah, I love building and shipping products, right? I love the opportunity to kind of take something from concept all the way to delivery and see how it's received by a client and getting the feedback and kind of iterating on it. And actually at Fidelity, I was involved in moving the organization from a fully waterfall-based methodology to a fully agile Scrum-based methodology. So we were doing 6 monthly releases when I joined back in 2011, and by the time I left in late 2018, we had just about moved into a kind of a almost 2 weekly, not quite, 2 to 4 weekly releases. So kind of we took the organization kicking and screaming towards a lot more agile-based kind of development methodology. We adopted Scrum as the methodology of choice. In terms of WealthOS, as I said, we are building a core wealth management infrastructure platform. Think core banking, but for wealth management. We were founded in 2019, 2020. My co-founder spoke in the engineering track earlier. All our product and engineering is based out of Sri Lanka. And obviously, kind of in terms of our leadership, engineering and product leadership, there's a lot of capital markets pedigree from places like London Stock Exchange. We are backed by Barclays and Capricorn Capital. We've raised about $6.5 million so far, and kind of really excited to be building kind of what I think is world's most advanced wealth management infrastructure platform, designed and built out of Sri Lanka. So session objectives, again, keeping in mind that we lost a bit of time, what I want to do is very quickly go through kind of the emerging impact of reasoning AI. And this is, in all honesty, my coining of the word. I'm not sure that anyone uses the phrase reasoning AI. The reason why I'm using reasoning AI is, I think from generative, I think we are slowly but surely moving into reasoning AI. Any of you who's following the AI paradigm would know that actually a lot of the models now pass certain thresholds. So there is an AGI test, artificial generalized intelligence test, where I think the models are passing at 89%, which is 4% above what humans pass. So I think the reason why I'm using reasoning is that while the early versions of GPT-1, GPT-2 were generative, it can generate something on the back of it. I think it's slowly starting to be able to reason on its own. So this, the impact of reasoning AI on the product development lifecycle, how we utilize that, practical experiences integrating AI within a lean and agile framework, opportunities to reduce friction and enhance value creation, the evolving partnership between human expertise and AI capabilities. As a format, a few polls, a couple of slides, but hopefully a little bit more interactive, right? This, as we all know, as it was alluded to earlier, is the post-lunch graveyard shift. So hopefully everyone is a bit awake, even if it is a bit awake, and then have an open discussion, questions, exchange of ideas about how AI is going to kind of work with us as product managers, product owners, and people who are participating in the overall software development lifecycle. And then in terms of conversation starters, I'd like to kind of explore where AI might create the most value, how and what tools are being utilized, finding the balance between AI-driven efficiency and human creativity, and starting small, practical entry points for AI adoption in product development. So first question, I don't know if you can scan this QR code. I would love to get a feel for what you, or whether you think AI has been used in some way within your product and the BA process within your organizations. Would like to kind of, it should be a poll that comes up on your phones, and hopefully I can, nope, not do that. Okay, I mean that's by the way, that's higher than I thought, which is really encouraging. That in your organization, AI is a core part of your organization's product design, business analysis process, which is really, really encouraging, and I think is the right way to go. And that's, I was fully expecting that poll to be the other way around, but it's fantastic to see that. Right, in terms of the product development frameworks, how it has evolved, I mean, this should all be kind of boilerplate and should be familiar to all of you. Obviously, in the kind of the earliest time of software development, mainframe software or mainframe computers, you had very traditional kind of waterfall-based methodologies, sequential, document-heavy methods, very distinct phases, kind of comprehensive planning, frozen requirements. By the way, I say this 50 to 90. I did that when I joined Fidelity, so I'm not sure why I put it in the 90s. It probably in some organizations it's still there. But in the 90s and 2000s, lean thinking started coming up. Waste elimination, realizing that value creation can't be pre-planned, that you have to get to market quickly, identify, get feedback, iterate, and a continuous process of software development. And then Agile, we all know Scrum either as practitioners or theory, or because you are asked to go for a stand-up. You don't know why, right? I'm not sure why the stand-up is, but you're asked to go to a stand-up. At least that way you know what Scrum and Agile looks like. And then obviously as we got into more kind of cloud, highly automated engineering practices, we have the DevOps culture and continuous delivery, highly efficient and really fast-paced delivery life cycle, so that you're reducing risk all the way through. And this last bit is what I think is the AI augmented era in product development. And controversially, my view is that Agile or Scrum as a methodology probably is becoming less relevant, and let me make my case for that. But all methodologies are going to be very different in the in the world of AI. I mean, that's my hypothesis, that's my thesis. Obviously, a lot of people, some people might agree, some people might disagree. But here's what's not changing. I mean, this, as product practitioners, as designers, and we in the earlier session, we saw in terms of that first concept, customer centricity in product design. And these principles in product development are not going to go away just because AI is here, right? AI is not going to have the EQ and the kind of the emotional intelligence to design great products and understand customers the way a human being will do. So customer centricity as a concept and as a tenet is going to be there. Value-driven prioritization, empirical learning, test and learn. So release, let the customers be the judge of your software, and kind of team empowerment, iteration, transparency. These principles, I think these principles have always been true. I don't think these principles are going to change, but these principles have always been true and will continue to be true irrespective of the methodology. And I think in an AI age, the product development process should still kind of be anchored around these principles. So let's think a little bit about the current PO BA practices, right? Hopefully, again, these should be relatively recognizable. This is what you do. This is what we do on a day-to-day basis in terms of kind of the three big phases: your research and discovery. You're a PO. You're supporting the build of a piece of software, and in doing that, you want to understand who is your consumer, who is the industry. What problem am I solving? Let me understand exactly kind of what I'm trying to kind of help engineers and software developers build. So you're going to have subject matter expert meetings, documentation, research, competitive analysis, stakeholder interviews, knowledge scattered across people and systems. So that's the research and discovery phase. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit about how in that process, AI gets augmented into that process. And then the feature design and planning. You know exactly what you're building, for whom you're building that, and then you start saying, okay, what is this software going to look like? Is this an app? This is a web app. What type of user is it? Is it a consumer? Is it an operations or an admin user? What are their likes, dislikes, loves, hates? What makes them tick? And then you work with your UX colleagues, and then you start specifying and documenting these things, and then having conversations with your technical leads, engineers, to figure out what the kind of the engineering solution to this is going to be. And then you start doing all of the kind of the pre-dev prep in terms of readying it to move it to a software engineer to write code for a QA to test, and then make available to you to say if it meets the spec, meets the need that you're trying to solve. So research, planning, design and planning, documentation. I don't like this title, post-fact. Pain points and challenges. Maybe we are, they are pain points and challenges now that we have AI, but maybe we didn't see it that way. But nevertheless, there's all kinds of issues like knowledge transfer bottlenecks between team members, number of cycles that you need to achieve, big burden of documentation, writing stuff down, and long documents as well, because there are people who are consuming that documentation to be able to build a piece of software, admin tasks, which consume a lot of time. Now, as product people, we might think, well, that's our job, right? But I'd say that actually those are very administrative jobs, because a lot of the value-adding stuff we've done in our brains. We've thought about it. It's our actually brains that's done the hard work, but to render that in from my brain to the piece of paper, there's a lot of time needs to be spent in terms of writing things down. So how do I see, how does my organization see, and kind of where does our hypothesis in terms of how this paradigm is changing? So in terms of how AI is going to play a part in the product design process is as follows, in my view. And this is happening live in our organization. So manual search and synthesis. I mean, that first one is really interesting. Every time I open up Google these days, I feel like a marriage that is kind of on its last legs, right? I mean, we've been with Google for such a long time, right? Everything is Google, right? We'll Google something. But more and more, actually, I'm very rarely using Google now, by the way. If you think about, say, you're developing a piece of software for a bank. You're not from a bank. You understand a bank from just having a savings account and a current account. But the bank wants you to help build a piece of software, right? And it's potentially, let's say it's a bank in Singapore. And you need to understand Singaporean banking rules. So you'll do a lot of Googling to understand, what is their monetary rules, are there limits? I don't know if you might be building a loan processing software. You need to understand this. And you'll spend a lot of time, obviously you'll speak to experts, but you will also do a lot of Googling. And when you do Googling, you'll have to do a lot of links. There might be like 1,000 links, and you take the top 6, 7, and you read all of that. And you then render that and transfer that onto a piece of paper for yourself. Like, okay, I found this on the Singaporean Monetary Authority. I found this from one of the Singaporean banks, right? So you're starting to synthesize the research that you've done. So you manually gone and got all of that content, and you're synthesizing it yourself. What's happening, I think, in the future is that AI tools, so search engines built on top of AI models, is going to do the synthesis for you. And we will talk a little bit about the kind of tools that we are using that's doing that synthesis. I'm not sure why that's doing that, but it'll come up. Yeah. So the research process going from like having to synthesize all of the content that you gather and make sense of it and move that onto a piece of paper, AI is going to be able to do the synthesis for you based on publicly available information. Writing requirements to crafting effective prompts. Quite frankly, if you think about writing a user story or a feature spec, the amount of time you'd spend writing a 2, 3, 4, 5-page document and then writing the user stories, as I want to so that, given when then, all those things, and that Jira ticket full of user stories and acceptance criteria. I think writing requirements yourself, I think you're going to go to effective prompts, crafting really effective prompts. Documenting knowledge is going to setting AI context, and we'll talk a little bit about context windows. Linear workflows to parallel solutionizing, being able to do multiple things, and you as a product professional becoming highly efficient and being able to do a number of things parallelly rather than sequentially, and then kind of gradual iteration into kind of rapid convergence. And I think in terms of the roles and responsibilities, I think product owners are kind of going to become AI collaboration experts and context specialists. So your role, instead of you being the context, you will research the context and write the right set of context for AI to consume. So in terms of synthesizing your research and creating that context so you can effectively use AI to its maximum ability. And then business analysts becoming great prompt engineers, validation experts, so that those contexts can be moved into kind of dev-ready stories. And UX designers, rapid design exploration partners. I mean, if think about a UX designer's role becoming incredibly exciting in the age of AI, where their creative output is going to trump the time they spend moving around boxes. And I do not mean this in with any disrespect, I love UX people, but yeah, you do move around a lot of boxes on the Figma screen, and instead of doing that, you're really putting your heart and soul into true design. And then engineers, quite frankly, moving into, architecture, technical design over boilerplate coding, and QA engineers becoming experts in quality rather than bug finders, right? They don't, their incentives don't necessarily have to be finding as many bugs as possible. There aren't going to be many bugs when AI is going to code. There's a lot of controversy there, and I'm sure that you have a lot of opinions. So I'm going to talk a little bit. By the way, I've been green carded. That means 15 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. So I've been green carded, so I see that. So AI in the product process at WealthOS. So at WealthOS, as I said, I'm a product guy. I'm a really, really passionate Agilist. I would say that Scrum is more than just a methodology for me. It's a mindset. I mean, obviously, you get the training. It is supposed to be a mindset. For me, it has always been a mindset. And actually, when I got my Scrum training, I genuinely kind of loved it, and I realized that it was transformational, and it's exactly how we should build software. So at WealthOS, we've been experimenting for I can't say years because AI has been evolving so fast, but for a few months we've been experimenting with a few things. But we are starting very slowly to processize, I don't know if that's a word, but processize AI into our overall product development process. So just to give you a little bit of context as to how we are organized, we have subject matter experts, which is kind of myself, and people who understand the wealth management industry. So what needs to be built, what's on the roadmap, what does that mean, who's the client? So giving expertise from the ground. Our product owners basically take the ownership of doing research and working with subject matter experts to design the products, so design the features, and then obviously engineers, QAs, who do that process, and not to forget UX architects. I do love UX architects. So the two tools I want to really call out that we've started using is, and I want you to remind you back to that point I made about research, the failing marriage between us and Google, is a tool called Perplexity. Perplexity was founded, I think, a couple of years ago. It runs on every major AI model right now. It runs on OpenAI, Anthropic's model, which is Claude, and also now DeepSeek. I think it basically runs on every single model. The beauty of Perplexity is that you can, with the right prompt, right question, you can get a fully synthesized piece of research. And I'll give you an example. So think that, going back to that example about the Singaporean lending solution you want to build for one of the Singaporean banks, you want to get a, 2-page comprehensive document that talks about, Singaporean monetary authorities lending regulations. Let's say the regulators' lending regulations, how a attractive kind of lending solution works, and you want to get all that written down. You want to do a piece of research. So instead of Google, you can go to Perplexity and say, right, write me a 2-pager on that, cite the sources, and this is one thing, right? A lot of people use AI as a search tool. I don't trust AI, by the way. We use AI a lot. I don't trust AI because AI still cannot give you a foolproof answer. It doesn't have all knowledge. Some of you might have heard the problem of hallucination. AI still hallucinates, right? It makes up stuff. So I'm always worried about people using AI as a search tool. But with Perplexity, what it does is it extracts information from the web. So Google, that's just indexing, search, and then basically putting that into a model and synthesizing. And all of a sudden, the 5 links you have to read, Perplexity has read and created your 2-page document, which you don't have to do. Happy days. And then Claude, I've been amber carded. Claude is, it's OpenAI, but not So Anthropic is the company behind Claude. It's the same engineers who broke away from OpenAI, and I really like Claude. So, and also Claude has done some interesting things with team collaboration. So we use Claude for feature design. So we use Perplexity for research, Claude for feature design, user story writing, and acceptance criteria writing. So live exercise, right? I'm going to whiz through this, by the way, so that I can get as much as possible. So there is I want you to just scan this code now, okay? And this will give you a product context that I've come up with. Obviously, we are slightly out of time, so I'm going to try and see how to shorten this. If not, I might actually show you what I've done previously. It's a personal finance app, right? It's a personal finance app. What I wanted to do, I don't know if I'll get the time to do this, is utilize the context that I've written, what you're seeing on your screen, hopefully, you've got. Utilize the context to build a feature roadmap, select a specific item from the roadmap, design a high-level wireframe, divide the roadmap into a series of epics and features, and choose several stories to elaborate on the user stories and acceptance criteria, right? The real power of it is how quickly we could do this. I mean, product guys in here, like me, would know the lead time, the elapsed time to get a lot of this done. It's collapsing, right? I mean, a lot of this is collapsing. And in the interest of time, I think I'm going to take a safe option. I very, very rarely take safe options in life. But with time, I think I have to take safe options in life. But I'm going to actually show, and so let's see if I can take a semi-risk approach. What I've done, this is Claude's Teams plan, and I've created a project, right? This is how we use it. So you create a project, which means you can collaborate. You can add things to your project knowledge, and you keep adding things to the project knowledge, and you can then obviously branch off to have different conversations to generate content. So what I've done is this PDF here is that PDF that you just saw, the product context, and in there is we have written some, here what you see is that we've actually written some instructions. Do this if you are doing this. So if you're writing a user story, use this format. Use British English, so probably a slight thing I have, and you can put as much or as little instructions as you like. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, familiarize yourself with this context, with the project knowledge. And it'll say, okay, I'll help you create the user stories, blah, 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 how many users, and by saying, ask clarifying questions, it'll do that. And then say, so I'm going to say, what might the MVP look like, right? So based on the information, core MVP features, basic account connection, AI-powered transaction categorization, spending analysis insights, simple budget creation. And I'm going to say, actually, very quickly, and this is fun, I'm going to say, create a HTML wireframe using blue as the main color to visualize the spending analysis page. And it starts creating the HTML code, right? And it gives you a wireframe. And this is not to replace the UX person, but to convey to the UX person, this is what I have in mind as a product guy. And they will then take and say, okay, I understand that. So your conversation, trying to explain it, has become a visual thing. And we all, at least I do, work better with visuals. And it suddenly writes all of your HTML. And here I'm not building the app. I mean, you need a lot more thought put into building the app and applying the kind of the rigor that goes with software development. All I'm doing as a product person is I'm saying, actually, can you please give me an idea of what it might look like? And then it's created your wireframe, right? And then I go and say, okay, cool. Can you please now create a roadmap? And yeah, create a roadmap, and it'll create the roadmap. This will then start writing the user stories, again, conscious of time. So I don't want to really kind of labor the point. It should be clear that the power AI offers us as product professionals to get exceptional software out and to really crush the software development lifecycle is, I think phenomenal. And I think in terms of a skills point of view, I want to emphasize that I think we should become, experts. And actually, going back to the point, I don't trust AI to answer my question. I know what I know. I'm an expert in what I do, and I think that's the skill that you need. And then you then tell AI to do stuff for you. It's a really good analyst. The way I think about it is, it's a really good analyst who can do the heavy lifting for you, not the thinking for you, right? And it could probably, analysts come up with great ideas, but don't replace your brain with AI. So hopefully that was helpful, and I apologize for the crunch nature, but happy to open up for any questions. I think the next was questions. So happy to open up for any questions.
Analyst thinking part is done through this. Given that we had previous 2 conversations also related to AI and the possibility of AI sort of taking over human beings and all of that, my question to you is, if product owners or project managers, business analysts use this tool for future development or any sort of development, what sort of a future do you see for us in a foreseeable 25 years? Do you think thinking or analytics will work? I don't know whether this question makes sense, but
no, it makes sense.
I think the thinking part, if the AI does the thinking part, where does the product owner does the thinking part, if you get what I mean?
I do, and honest answer, and this is not a comforting answer, nor for me, is I don't know. I mean, genuinely, if you've plugged into the AI field lately, it's scary, right? I mean, we can comfort ourselves all we want. It's genuinely like, invention of the wheel scary, industrial revolution scary, but at, weeks, not hundreds of years. So I can't answer your question. I personally think it's a more broader philosophical / broader societal economic question. I think getting it right allows us to be more creative individuals, not fitting into a paradigm of 9-to-5 jobs, which we have inherited from agrarian times and stuff like. But I will try not to get very philosophical about it. So, but honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I think it's scary. The speed with which everything is changing is very scary.
Thank you.
In a business perspective, how do you see, do you see any trend in business to software companies with emergence of AI, or with the rapid prototype development? So how do you feel like?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a company called Bolt, right? And they basically built a app development. So Bolt by StackBlitz, look them up. With 20 people, they built a company where you can build an app through natural language prompting. So you can basically tell what you want. It builds the app for you. There's a paid version which actually builds the database, deploys it for you onto your own cloud. So it does everything. 20 people, within 3 months, it went to 100 million ARR. So yeah, I mean, companies like that are using AI to provide value-added AI to kind of software development and things like that. But I think everyone's trying to embed AI one way or another, either to the process or to their product or both. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? Or did you have a specific... Yeah. Anyone else? Cool. I've been shushed off.
No.
Thank you all. Thank you, and apologies for the slightly crunched time.
Thank you very much, Anton. So with that, we come to the end of the product track speeches. Anton, I would like to invite you on stage. And Jenny, I would like to present the gift to Anton. Thank you very much, Anton. A big round of applause. All right, so thank you very much, everybody, for spending time in the product track today. So I believe you got some really good insights and learnings to take back, probably apply at your workplace, within your teams, within your organizations. And if you have any questions similar to what I mentioned earlier, you can scan the QR code that is provided and submit any questions that the speakers could get back to you. So next up, as we've come to the end of the product track speeches, next up is actually tea and networking. So unlike earlier, now the tea will be served downstairs. You are supposed to go out from the conference room. To your left, there will be the escalator. You can take the escalator and go to the 7th floor where tea will be served, and there will be stalls, and also there will be a few activities that you could get engaged with. And also the next session, the panel discussion starts at 4:20. So make sure that you are present at the same conference hall. This will be all together. So make sure that you are here by 4:15. Thank you very much.